On this episode of Home On, Apple introduces some improvements to HomeKit at this year's developer conference. Lutron announces a brilliant new retrofit lighting controller. And Eaton Lighting's Bryant Bilal joins us to talk about their residential smart lighting line, Halo Home. This is Home On.
Home On.
Welcome to episode 121 of Home On, a show about DIY home control and automation from the Digital Media Zone. I'm Richard Gunther, and I'm joined on this episode by Bryant Bilal, Product Line Manager for Halo Recessed at Eaton. Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We met at Light Fair. I end up going to Light Fair every year because I am a lighting geek, which sounds like such a weird thing.
Welcome to the family.
Well, you have some products that I'm excited to talk about. I saw them at the show last year, and the line has really filled out. So we'll talk about what Eaton is up to in a little bit. But before we do that, let's jump into some discussion about the latest news. We can't get through the news without talking about updates to HomeKit that Apple announced at the latest developer conference. Apple's WWDC happens every year in June out in California, and they usually announce lots of updates to their platforms. And this year was no exception. While in the past we haven't heard a lot about HomeKit, there were HomeKit updates this year that are worth talking about. I'm just going to briefly talk about these because if you want to learn more about these, I'm going to ask you to go over to the Smart Home Show and listen to Adam's and my analysis of this. We'll go into great depth there. The summary is that Apple is shoring up the security of HomeKit. Apple has been talking about privacy and talking about security, banging that drum for a long time now. They want to make sure that services that vendors provide to their customers are as secure as possible. And one area of concern has been in routers and cameras. So Apple is actually going to provide tools to make it easier to be secure in this space. So, for example, with cameras, they're actually going to provide cloud storage as part of customers' iCloud service. It won't count against the storage that you're using, but cameras can put their video up on iCloud. That way, we know that it's going to be secure and you're not tied into some third-party service. This is a really cool thing, and a couple of different vendors like NetAtmo and others are going to be rolling this out first. And then on the router front, they're going to HomeKit enable routers. Now, we don't know a whole lot about what that means, except that it will add a layer of security for your HomeKit devices that are inside your home. Also, they've added the ability to include AirPlay 2 devices as controllable accessories in HomeKit. So that's a big deal. We've been wanting that for a long time so that if you have a scene that you're coming home, maybe you could have some music start playing on an AirPlay device. That's a nice thing. And I do want to talk about some updates to the Home app. The Home app has not been significantly updated in terms of overall appearance or organization, but what they have done, and this is brilliant, is that in automations, you can now incorporate shortcuts. If you know anything about iOS shortcuts, they're the ability to do very granular things, either on your device or in apps or with services that you tie into. And that can now be a part of your automations, which I think is just brilliant. So a lot of nice updates there. I don't know if you follow HomeKit at all, Bryant, but I was pretty happy with what they were talking about.
Yeah, I actually do. We've looked at HomeKit and they have so many active users because everyone who's got an iPhone automatically gets the app. So we do follow HomeKit pretty closely.
All right, next up, we have a really cool new product from Lutron. We wrote about this at the DMZ. Lutron has announced the Aurora Dimmer, and this is a round knob designed to clasp onto an existing wall toggle switch for a light. The knob will function as a standard dimmer knob for Hue lighting. This is initially going to be part of the Friends of Hue program. This is a Zigbee product. It will allow you to dim or turn on or off your Philips Hue lighting. You'll set it up in the Hue app, or you can pair it with other Zigbee bulbs if they're compatible, and it'll function just like a standard wall dimmer. It's going to be about $40, and it's going to be available later this month. I think this is brilliant.
My 2 cents, this is a problem, a use case that everyone who's taken that dive into smart home has experienced. You purchase, the smart bulb or luminaire, and then you keep your standard switches because you don't want to mess with the wiring in the house, right? So there have been other products by smaller manufacturers that kind of clamp over the switch, but they don't look very elegant.
Right.
Right? They look like a big 2-inch size box. This one, it's a rotary switch. So if you're okay with having a rotary switch, it does look like it fits with the space.
It looks like an old-timey dimmer.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Lutron invented.
Right. And, I can't speak to this product, but I do know, for Halo Home, we had customers tell us this exact problem. Well, if I put this downlight in, then, what happens if I kill it at the switch? Our approach was offer in-wall accessory dimmers, whether it looks like a Decora dimmer or it's a scene controller, a scene keypad. But customers absolutely want that ability to turn off at the switch without killing power, because it's just been ingrained in our psyche for decades, right? To go turn it off at the light switch.
Right, exactly. And just for the sake of guests in the home or other people in the home, I think that's one of the things where a lot of these third-party devices fail. Or like, well, here's this wacky designed button that you can adhere to the wall next to your light switch.
Right.
Well, yeah, sure, but my guests that come visit or the babysitter or something, they're not going to know what that is or what it does or maybe even how it works. So the brilliance of this is that it's so obvious. People will know how to use it.
That's right. And the alternatives aren't very elegant either, right? You can't say, hey, let me see your phone so I can change the lights.
Well, right, exactly. Here, you're coming to take care of the kids tonight. Okay, download this app and create an account. Yeah, no.
That's not going to.
That doesn't work at all.
And also, if you do have a voice assistant, I know our babysitter doesn't come and just start hollering at our voice assistant.
Well, you hope not.
She doesn't know what everything does just from the blind eye. So
right. So very, very cool product. I'm excited about it. I'm eager to get a hold of one and give this a try because I have Hue lights. So I think this will be a really good thing. Now, I have one complaint here, and that is that it is only available in white when it comes out. Now, they say that they are listening to customer feedback, so if there's a demand for it, they may come out with other colors. And Lutron, as you know, has all of the colors. They typically support most products in at least ivory, almond, white, and black. Some of their lines have far more diverse option palette than that. So hopefully this will come out in at least, I would say, almond and ivory and black so that it will align with their other lines. But very, very cool. Glad to see this. Seriously, I can't wait to get my hands on it. All right, a couple updates before we move on. The first one about Habitat. So we've had the folks from Habitat on the show. Habitat is a good alternative if you're looking for a hub that lets you control your Zigbee and Z-Wave and Wi-Fi or IP controlled devices in your home. And what's unique about Habitat is that it is all done through local addressing, local control. None of it requires the use of the cloud unless you opt to have it control things that only expose themselves to a cloud API. Habitat's weakness, in my opinion, is that it has never had an app before. So they've come out with an app now. Essentially what they have done is they've taken their website and wrapped it as apps for iOS and Android. What that means is that it is very similar to their web experience for controlling their devices. And I have my opinions about that. I don't think it's very pretty, but hopefully they will have an opportunity to improve this over time. What's really nice is that you finally have an actual app to control stuff. And I know that a lot of their customers have been asking for that. Another update worth mentioning is from Ecobee. Good old Dave Zatz, I think before anybody else, managed to sniff out lots of information about the upcoming Ecobee thermostat. And this one, for some reason, doesn't have a version number associated with it. It's just the Ecobee. It has new smart sensors. I don't know what your take on this is, Brian, but I would say this is just a refinement of the last product that they had. Mm-hmm. They had the version that includes Amazon's Assistant. It was largely plastic, and it has been a good, solid product for a long time. This adds a glass screen to it. It redesigns the sensors so that they look a little bit more elegant and probably more importantly, have much better range, which has been a problem with the Ecobee.
Yeah, I think they improved touch sensitivity and just the overall look, the plastic versus the new material. I think they're probably taking feedback from customers or reviews and implementing it into their new products, which is what you want, right?
Yeah. And, those sensors were one of the differentiating factors for Ecobee when it came out, is the ability to control the temperature in your space, not based on where the thermostat was necessarily, but where you wanted it to be, wherever you place the sensors. But I have a one-level ranch. It kind of sprawls. And as far as I know, they don't mesh. So what I ended up finding is that just putting a sensor 2 rooms away, I was losing my sensor constantly. And that was no good.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So yeah, I'm really excited about this update and glad to see that they're doing it. It's going to be same old price, $250 in the US. I think it's about $329 Canadian. Definitely worth looking into if you are looking for a smart thermostat. I think these have been good products, and this looks like a nice refinement. Well, speaking of thermostats, Tato in the UK has released an update to their AC control. If you have an air conditioner unit that you can control with IR and you're in the UK, Tato has always been a good option for you because they had this kind of standalone controller that looks like a thermostat, kind of works like a thermostat, but gives you the ability to centrally control your otherwise IR-controlled devices. And they have an update called V3 Plus. It's, again, a refinement of the last design, but the big thing here is that they have added HomeKit control to this. So now your Tato devices can also, at least this one, can also be a part of your HomeKit ecosystem if that's something that's important to you. So glad to see this nice update from them. And then finally, at CES, we saw the new Wemo 3-way light switch. It was one of the newer products that Wemo was talking about. Of course, Wemo made a big splash about a year ago when they announced that their newer devices were HomeKit compatible through software. This, too, is a HomeKit compatible 3-way light switch. Now, 3-way, why am I making a big deal about that? I'm making a big deal about that because if you've ever had to replace a light switch in a 3-way circuit with a smart light switch, you'll know that it's pretty much a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And so what manufacturers are starting to do is come out with kits or products that are specifically designed for 3-way switch circuits. And this makes the installation a whole lot easier. The switches are designed to work with each other instead of having a master and secondary switch, which is how most manufacturers do this. These two will just communicate with each other, work with each other, and as I said, they're also compatible with HomeKit. Now, I have one big beef with the Wemo switches. This is the same issue that I have with the TP-Link switches and a couple other vendors. Their physical design of the switch makes no sense to me. It's not a push button. It is not a rocker. It is a lever with a fulcrum point at the top. And what that means is that the area where you can press it is at the bottom of the switch. So you're literally having to press the bottom of the light switch to turn the light on, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that's tough to reprogram into homeowners, right? It'll change your behavior, that's for sure. The first time you go and try to press the top and nothing happens.
Well, not only does nothing happen, it doesn't give.
It doesn't move. Yeah.
It's very strange. But in any event, I'm glad to see that manufacturers are doing this. I think this is a good product. I'd like to see more things like this that make installing smart switches easier because, as you mentioned earlier, it's a messy proposition.
It's really a problem solver, at least for our contractors. There's a lot of locations you want a three-way, but you don't want to pull wire behind the refrigerator, or you don't want to pull wire through the kitchen. So they use these, and homeowners may not even know they have a smart three-way. But if you take a Halo Home smart dimmer and accessory, or this Wemo three-way, or the Caseta three-way, you can give the look of a three-way without having to pull that wire. So contractors really like these kits that you're seeing manufacturers come out with.
Absolutely. And hey, that's a really good transition to talking about Halo.
Oh, yeah. We're the contractor brand, right?
Absolutely. Let's start with that. Who is Eaton? What is the brand Eaton and what is Halo? How do they fit together? And we're ultimately going to be talking about Halo Home.
Right.
But give us a primer.
Yeah, so Eaton is a global diversified manufacturer. They're a power management company, $21 billion in sales and 100,000 employees. So very large company. And they have a division within Eaton called Eaton Lighting. And within our lighting division is the brand Halo. So Halo has been around for over 60 years, and the brand is number one from builders 21 years in a row.
Nice.
It's a lighting brand that was started for the contractor, and it started with the recessed can. Everyone knows Halo for the H7. That's a recessed can that's always been the bellwether in the market. And so within the Halo brand, we've always had lighting and the transition from incandescent to LED. And now there's this new transition to smart Internet of Things technology. So we have Halo Home, which is our flagship smart home products in the Halo brand.
I'm starting to see these, just like the other Halo products, in my local Home Depot, for example. You go down the aisle and it's just lined with all of these Halo products.
That's right. Yeah, so very proud of the brand presence that we have. And Halo, the great thing about it is designed for the installer, whether that be a pro or a homeowner. So your DIYers or your big box retailers, you can get Halo when you're doing a weekend project, or if you're a large scale builder, you can get it by the truckload from your distributor. So we do have the benefit of being in both worlds, not just the non-smart, but also the new smart technology where we're everywhere.
All right. So let's talk about Halo Home, your smart line. What differentiates your offering versus something from some other manufacturer? There are a lot of lighting companies out there. It's arguable that to some extent, smart lighting is becoming something of a commodity.
Sure.
So how are you differentiating?
That's right. Yeah. So we're definitely not first to market with smart lighting. We've been watching, patiently waiting, and strategizing, as they say, listening to customers about what they want. And really what differentiates Halo Home from the other systems is it's a very simple and secure way to connect and automate your home. And the way you do that is with the Bluetooth mesh system. You don't need internet connection. You don't need a hub. All you need is one device and a smartphone or tablet, and you can now have a smart product in your home. We had seen this huge adoption with tech enthusiasts and early adopters, and we hadn't seen that jump to the professional or that jump to the mass market. So Halo Home was designed to help be an entry point for those people and then also be robust enough to scale up. So you could add up to 200 devices on an account. You can make automations. You can make scenes. You can do all those things that a power user tech enthusiast would do, but you could also go very simple and just have a phone and a floodlight and schedule it to come on when the sun goes down. So that was really the strategy and the thought process behind it. It was also, like I said before, we're very big with the installer and the pro. And a lot of the ask from them was, hey, I need to install smart products, but I don't want to wait for Wi-Fi to get set up, or I don't want to use a hotspot on every floor of this apartment building. It just was extra cost and extra time that they were trying to get rid of. So we are positioning it as both. You'll see it as a consumer-facing brand where you have one person just get a few lights and use it in their home, like in those retailers you said, or e-commerce. But we also do the professional side too. And really the motivation from them is dollar signs. So they see that either their electrician or their building owners can install this system. It's so simple that they don't have to pay a third party integrator. They can actually save that money or spend it on something else on the property. With a more complex system, they would have had to pay someone else to do it.
Got it. So you don't need a home tech professional to install a system like this.
That's right. You absolutely do not.
And that's a big difference because that can be costly as well as the products themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that you're the cheap brand by any means, but what I would say is that you're kind of the Kleenex of lighting products, right? Like you're, I think, the brand that people think of.
Sure.
You're the brand that most people see when they see this stuff installed, as opposed to something that's going to be far more expensive.
Right. Yeah. You see the orange and you kind of know the brand Halo. The joke that I have is it's like Clorox or Colgate or Kleenex, like you said, right?
Right.
It's a known entity versus some higher end systems. They still have a space and they still have a lot of features, but you're going to pay for those features. So we were seeing a gap in the market where some customers were paying it even though they didn't want to.
Okay, so what types of products? We'll get into specifics later, but what categories? Because, you talked about cans. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you're not installing smart cans. What types of products do you offer as part of this line?
Yeah, so that's one of the other differentiators is we do the interior LED downlights. We do exterior floodlights for security and outdoor. We do controls, whether it be a remote or an in-wall controller we mentioned earlier. And then we also do accessories. So we have the little plug-in dimmers to get your table lamps and a small accessory to retrofit existing LED trims and things like that. Kind of like you said at Light Fair, this was our first showing of the entire offering where you can actually take an entire house and literally every single thing that emits light you could replace with Halo Home and have a robust system.
And all of this is built on Bluetooth.
That's right.
So you have an app that controls it. And by the way, it's a very pretty app. I'm very critical about almost every smart home app that I use. Your app is nicely designed. It offers a lot of features.
Yeah, thank you. It offers individual device control. I can dim up, dim down. I can white tune. So that means take the product from a warm color, 2700, to a cool color, like 5000K. Do that on all the individual products. I can make groups. So I can make a kitchen group of devices or an outdoor group of devices. And then I can do schedules, which is really my favorite because it looks like a Christmas tree timer to kind of go back to how people are programmed. And you can drag your finger and set different times and how lights will come off and on or make sure everything's off at 11 p.m. and things like that. And then you can also do scenes. A scene is really a combination of everything put together. So I have a scene for movie night at my house, and when I press it, everything goes to 50% in a warm color. And then that scene is also scheduled to come on every Friday at 7:00. In case I don't press it on my scene controller or my phone, it's automatically programmed to just come up at that time of day. Thank you for the compliment. It is designed to be simple and just almost like a commissioning app, and then you automate everything else.
Yeah, and that's really what you ultimately want anyway. You want this to be as automated as possible. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that I'm wondering, though, is what if this app is on my phone and I'm not home? Mm-hmm. Is any of the logic that you're establishing here actually resident on the devices themselves so that they can function without the app? Or do you have to have somebody with the app in the home for this to work?
Yeah, so you don't need anyone with the app in the home for this to work. Every single product we manufacture has flash memory. As soon as you commission it or program it, it'll save the settings on the actual device, the light, and then it also will save it in your account on the cloud. So, when your phone's not home, the lights remember everything that's been programmed, all the schedules, all the dim settings and everything. And then similarly on your phone or mobile device, when you program it, it's saved there as well. And then it'll either refresh or update through LTE or the next time you're on Wi-Fi. So say, for example, you set it to dim at 10% and then the power gets killed. When the power comes back on, the light still comes back on at 10%.
Very good. That was really the only right answer.
That's the only answer. You reminded me of something else. It is a Bluetooth mesh system. So the range is 100 foot line of sight. But we had customers who said, what if I want to control my lights when I'm at the office or out of town? So we do offer an accessory called the Bridge, and that just bridges the Bluetooth mesh to Wi-Fi. And it's just a little optional accessory that you plug into a standard wall outlet. And that gives you that remote access if you want it, but it's completely optional.
That actually reminds me, this system, as far as I know, is kind of built on the foundation of Avion's Bluetooth technology. They have been evolving and improving their lighting control technology with Bluetooth over the past few years. We've had Avion on the show before, really like what they've done. But as far as I know, you're the first vendor to really build out a product line based on that technology and prove that it can function in a whole home.
It can, and it is scalable. And we've learned from multiple partners, but they're one that have taught us a lot about the security benefits and a lot about especially how this can be used for multifamily. Single family, you and I, we can have a Hue or a Zigbee based system, right? Halo has a Zigbee based product that works with Wink and smart things. But if you try to scale that to a hotel or scale that to an apartment complex, it doesn't really fit. Imagine putting a hub in every single unit. That cost kind of scares people.
Right.
This is a great way for one of those owners to actually scale this type of technology into the marketplace in more than just single family, even though that's where traditionally we play.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive into some specific products. You mentioned you have the lighting products and a number of different lighting products that you offer. Can conversions or downlight, recessed light conversions, I think, are probably the most common. And that's what I see in my local Home Depot when I'm there, I think, every single weekend. But the first thing that really catches my attention is it seems that most of this stuff, if not all of it, is white tunable. And that's another thing that Avion was really harping on, was how important it is to have the right color white for the right place and time and task.
Yeah, it's true. I think until you've seen it firsthand, it's hard to describe, but the color temperature you prefer or you have in your space is super important. I mean, we have products outside of Halo Home just for this specific reason. For example, my kids love the blue 5000 Kelvin color temperature, but I personally don't like it. I like a different one. I like 3000 or 27. So in the past, you just had to live with it. And there was a lot of pushback when LED first came out because people thought it looked too blue or they thought it looked too white. And that's because they had a really cool color temperature. Well, now with all the Halo Home lights, you can change those dynamically. You can do it once and leave it, or you can change it on the fly through your app or your voice or a scene keypad. But to that point, there's also a push for circadian rhythms. The human eye and the human brain really benefit from the color of light shifting throughout the day like the sun does. And, Apple was kind of one of the first to really share this with consumers with their night shift. So every phone had that night shift option where the blue light from your phone would actually move to a more yellow as you're getting ready for bed. Same concept here. So you can make sure the lights are the right color for what you need.
And is that something that you can automate through your app, or is that a manual process right now?
I'd say it's 50-50. So it's not manual in terms of you can only manually do it, but you can set scenes to where at a certain time of day, the lights all change to a certain color. Now, there's not an easy button that just automatically does it for you. You do have to pick your preference. So like if you wanted to change from 27 to 4 and not 5, you have to set that appropriate scene. We won't choose that one for you. But once you've done it that one time, set the 3 different scenes or 4 or however many you want, it does absolutely automate by itself and you never have to touch it again.
Okay. Now, other lighting products, you mentioned that you have an outdoor floodlight. And again, I'm just so excited. An outdoor floodlight that doesn't have to look like a used car lot light or something.
It's funny, that twin head floodlight and the twin flood motion as well, huge popularity. even more so than we had expected. One for the aesthetics, but two really for the security. It's 2000 lumens, so it's really bright. And what we were seeing was for the price point, people wanted to add floodlights, but a lot of times you have to do a lot of extra wiring to the control. Well, in this case, you just got to get power to the floodlight, and now you can control it via the Bluetooth radio through your phone or through one of our controls or through your voice. So people were really loving that. And then also the white tuning aspect where traditionally you pick an outdoor flood and it's just 4,000 or 5,000 K. That's it. Well, in Atlanta, where my house is right next to my neighbor's, he absolutely hated it. So I was able to put these in and make it a dim level and a warm color for most of the night. And then when it sees motion or when I schedule it to do it, it'll go to a 5K and a bright security light. So a really cool functionality you get with the floods.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that is valuable, and I'd like to see more companies thinking about security lighting as more than just a really bright 4 or 5K LED.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing so much more there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the scene controller, and I know that you have both wired and wireless dimmer. That scene controller, Avion announced that last year, and I was so excited to see that you're using it because it's so hard to get good controllers, decent looking controllers in the home that look like and work with regular wall switches.
Yeah.
And actually control more than just the brightness of a light to be able to trigger scenes or color temperature or something like that.
Yeah. Not just that, but also more than what it's wired to.
Right.
Traditionally, I've always thought scene controllers, you wire up all these cans to this one central controller, and then you can just control that. That's it. You can do this half, that half, maybe something as an accent. Adding wireless to that really changes the game. I have one I tested in my upstairs bedroom, and I can literally turn the kitchen light on downstairs from this scene controller upstairs and then turn on the lights of the room I'm in as well. That wireless functionality is cool. And then, like you said, that movie night scene I have is actually button number 4. So I can change color from the wall, which people were really asking for. Having to pull your phone out to change the color temp or telling the assistant, if you have a voice assistant, to do that is okay. But being able to do it from the wall really makes things a lot easier. And you don't realize how much every day you're using these wall controls. And the other thing, too, to connect it back to the floodlight, we had customers who were aging in place, right? That's a big thing with smart home.
Right.
And they wanted to have these floodlights around the house all come on with the touch of a button. So if they heard something, they could turn it on and feel more secure, which you could get from a motion sensor, but they wanted that control in the master bedroom. And this contractor was like, hey, and now I don't have to run 4 lines of wire back to this person's bedroom. I can just put in this scene keypad and it can control 1, it can control all 4. It doesn't care. It can control any group of outdoor lights. So yeah, it's really fun to see the use cases, whether it be color or just control with these products.
A funny tie-in to that, my house I purchased from a couple that was aging and lived in this house as long as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And they had these perimeter lights around the exterior and the eaves. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out where the load was controlled for these lights.
Yeah.
There was a 3-way out in the hallway near the kitchen, but I couldn't figure out where's the load. This is nuts. It was in the master bedroom.
Until we launched Halo Home and I talked to someone, that had never crossed my mind, ever. I mean, maybe you too, Richard, because you saw it in your house, but that had never even come in my psyche until talking to that customer.
Yeah.
That's such a funny story.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I guess there's not just 2 customers doing it. It's happening more and more.
It is. All right. Now you mentioned the bridge. That bridge is going to connect your Bluetooth network that is its own independent thing in the house through your Wi-Fi to the cloud. Mm-hmm. And that enables voice control and remote control and stuff like that, right?
That's right. You plug it in and you just put in your Wi-Fi password. This bridge will jump to Wi-Fi. So now on my phone, I can access my lights remotely. I can use the Google voice assistant or the Amazon voice assistant. We have on the roadmap to do Apple.
Good answer.
Well, we had started sometime in 2018, and then, Google had just taken off like crazy, and we were getting a lot of momentum with that one. But the other great thing about the Bridge too is, and this is not necessarily for the DIYer, but for apartments or condos or things like that, we have a web-based application where you can log in from your laptop or your desktop and see all your devices, see the groups and scenes and all the settings. And what we're seeing is you can plug that Bridge into the location you want to control and then pull up your laptop or desktop and mess with the lights from your PC instead of your phone when you're at work or whatever. So the Bridge is a really nice accessory to scale up the house for people who want more than just local control.
And I also think that is nice for homeowners. I'm older than many of the people in this space, and so I still really like to be at my desk doing something and not have to reach for my phone if I already have my hand on a mouse.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. When I get home, my phone goes in the bag and I try to not pull it out again. And same thing at work. We're always in meetings or on the phone or doing something else. So having access through an internet browser is really nice.
Absolutely. There's one other product that you mentioned, and this is one that you just came out with. I called it a pigtail. That's probably not the right term.
Yeah.
You called it a wireless adapter.
Yeah.
This is so smart.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. And a lot of it is because we knew the hundreds of millions of LED lights that are out there. Not every homeowner is going to want to swap them all out, right? They might like the finish or the look, or they might just want to do one at a time and not a whole circuit. So this little wireless adapter plugs in behind your LED module and then into the can. And now you've got that individual control of that light on, off, dim, as opposed to a whole circuit. Now, a lot of times recessed cans are done in circuits of 4 or 6, or even I've seen one of 60. And if you want to be able to turn individual things off and on, you can't just do it at the wall switch. You need to plug in some type of adapter, and that's what this thing is. So it's a really slick product that fits in all standard Halo cans. As long as it's under 15 watts of load, it'll act as an individual dimmer like you bought a brand new light.
And it's crazy easy to install because it uses those little orange LED, I'll call them clips, that most LED lighting systems use now.
That's right.
So if you buy, for example, a conversion kit, it used to be that it would have a screw adapter hardwired to the chassis, and you would just turn that. You had to figure out how to also turn the thing while you're turning the screw, and it was just kind of a real mess. Now that companies are standardizing on this little LED plug, now you just plug that thing in separately and then quick connect them. This just fits in between there. And adds Bluetooth control to that existing. This was my favorite thing at last year's Light Fair.
Oh, good. Like everything in Halo Home, it's designed to be very simple, plug and play, adds to the app in seconds, and then you can go back to your day. So yeah, we're very excited about it. Very
cool. Now, at most conferences, most vendors are showing stuff that's going to be out sometime in the future.
Yep.
That is true with you as well. You were showing off a new product you're anticipating coming out with later this year, I think, that would have an onboard assistant.
Yeah, so we have our flagship interior retrofit module, and it does the white tuning, and it fits 4-inch cans, it fits 5-inch or 6-inch cans. We were asking ourselves, how do we get a voice assistant into that product? Because we're already using that real estate in the ceiling. You've already committed to Halo Home by putting in a retrofit trim. Why can't we add the assistant on board and into that? So this is our Halo Home voice downlight. It's in the 5-6-inch model, and it integrates Amazon's voice assistant into our white tuning Halo Home RL. So you don't need to purchase an extra voice assistant. You just purchase this Halo Home voice, you put it into the ceiling. There's multiple microphones and a pretty powerful speaker. And now I can just walk through my house seamlessly and say, turn the lights on, play music, what's the weather, play the news, things like that, without cluttering up the countertop, without really noticing it. I have people come over all the time and they're like, well, where is your assistant? They don't see it. It really blends into the space pretty nicely.
All right, cool. This is a really robust line of products. I'm excited to see that you're still coming out with new stuff, and I can't wait to see where you go with this. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to make sure we cover, or did we do a pretty good job there?
I think we covered everything pretty well. I do want to make sure I mention, besides the scene keypad, we also have those in-wall smart dimmers that can control non-Halo Home lights.
Right.
So similar to that little wireless adapter that you plug into anyone's retrofit, we have a smart dimmer that can control an entire load, and you can use it as a three-way and things like that. I use it on my front porch in my chandelier because they're not manufactured by Halo, and that way I can pull everything into the system. And similar to that Wemo three-way kit, I can make a three-way out of it using accessories and scene keypads and things like that. I just think we are very excited and pleasantly surprised at how fast it's taken off, and hope customers are really loving the feature set that Halo Home brings. So I do appreciate the time.
Good stuff. All right, let's jump to some messages from listeners real quickly. The first message is from Vincent, and we've heard from Vincent before. He says this time, I'm behind in my podcast listening, and I just listened to the kitchen episode. It made me think of two things I'd like to see, all related to inventory management. First, I'd like to have my purchases from the store reflected in the app managing my home inventory. More for product codes and building my common items database to build my shopping list. It'll also let me track common items, so the app could use some analytics, probably not a full AI, but to predict my usage and remind me that I might want to order something. Toilet paper is a good example. The second item I'd like to see is a barcode scanner that mounts in the pantry. When something gets used and we need to order more, you scan the barcode and it goes to the shopping list. For those who use shop at home or order and pickup services from places like Walmart, this list could then be sent to that place to order. Maybe the whole system should come from the retailer, but I personally don't shop at only one store for groceries. So as an add-on, I'd like the system to know who I buy stuff from, so I could say, I'm going to store X. What's on my list for that store? I'm sure if I spent some time, I could think of even more ways, but until there are RFID chips in every package, which is not going to happen, or the Amazon grocery store tech comes to my home, this sounds like a good start. I like it better than the dash buttons. Tried them, and I wasn't so impressed. You know, this is an interesting ask, Vincent. The first part, I'm totally with you. I like the idea of something that kind of tracks inventory. I mentioned, I believe, in a more recent episode that I am testing a fridge cam from Smarter in the UK. It's not really designed to work with grocers in the US yet, so I'm not getting all the advantages of it, but it is supposed to do stuff like track what's in the fridge and what might be spoiling and what you might need more of and things like that. And you have an app and you have to scan items with their UPC code, and that makes it a little bit cumbersome because it's changing customer behavior. But it's a cool concept, and that could take off. The second piece here, I think, is the most interesting to me. And Amazon has this. I don't know if it has it where you are, but I have a Dash Wand, which is basically a barcode scanner. And when I run out of something, I scan it. It ends up on my Amazon list in a shopping cart or to buy list on Amazon. If they could somehow get that over to my shopping list on Amazon's assistant, it would be perfect. But it's really designed to make you buy it from Amazon right now.
Right.
Not surprising. I think this is a good suggestion and something I'm sure we'll see companies playing with. Bryant, I don't know if you've dabbled at all in smart kitchen tech, but it's kind of one of my side hobbies.
I like the idea. So I use like a Fitness Pal app, and I scan the barcode for my food into the app, and then it tells me all the nutrition and things like that. Just using the camera on my phone. It sounds like if you had, similar to the Amazon Go store, if you had the camera, you could just, scan the stuff in your pantry. And after 10 scans of the Pringles or whatever, it knows that you need some more sour cream and onion chips. It's a good idea.
Although that might kind of go counter to what your fitness app is really trying to do for you. So I don't know about that. Our next message is from Nick. And Nick says, I've been listening to Home On for around a year and a half now. I'm a home automation hobbyist and have been working on upgrading my house the last few years. I started with Insteon products for lighting. These could be sourced locally and had a great reputation. However, I know eventually I may want to add Z-Wave or Zigbee for sensors and non-lighting automation. You've mentioned or covered some of the better systems out there for doing this, such as Indigo and ISY. However, you've not covered HomeSeer. I ended up going with HomeSeer based on support of many technologies through plugins and the active online community. Insteon support is excellent through the third-party plugin. HomeSeer also has a native Insteon plugin with limited support and an ISY plugin. Much like the Habitat product you covered, all of the control is handled locally, so there's no dependence on the cloud. And HomeSeer is available as a software-only product to be installed on a Windows, Linux, or Mac PC, or it can be bought as a standalone controller. I happen to run mine on a Linux VM running on my always-on Synology NAS. It's not the cheapest solution, but twice a year they have a half-off sale, which made it much more appealing to me. Currently, their Raspberry Pi-based controller is only $99. I keep hearing the listener questions about using the excellent 6 and 8 button Insteon controllers with other products, and I think HomeSeer is great for this. After hearing the shows covering Habitat and ISY, I'd love to hear a show covering HomeSeer. So my dirty little secret, Nick, is that I used to use HomeSeer. I used HomeSeer for years and years and years, way back when they actually had a desktop app that ran on Windows, before they went to a web-only solution. My issue with HomeSeer, it is crazy powerful. It is amazingly powerful. My issue with HomeSeer is that the experience is terrible. Now, I could say this pretty much about most home automation systems, particularly those that are web-based. The interfaces are usually lacking, and that's usually because they're developed by developers and not by UX specialists. I get that. Even the ISY, I complain about the ISY experience all the time. It's just really powerful and does the things that I need, but I don't have to use it to control things day to day. HomeSeer, you end up needing to use HomeSeer and their web or app experiences, and in my opinion, I just haven't liked them. That said, I do want to get them on. I talked with them years ago about coming on HomeOn. Now that the space has evolved and there's a lot more competition, I think it would be a good time to pursue that again. So I'll try and see if I can get this done. If you have questions or topic ideas, you can reach out to us at homeon@thedigitalmediazone.com or contact us on the contact form. And a quick announcement before we close out here. I teased on our last episode that the Smart Home Show might be coming back. In fact, it has come back. Adam Justice and I are taking over the reins from Mike Wolf. He is kind of giving us the keys since he's not keeping this up anymore, and letting us carry that show forward. We're doing some new stuff, but we're trying to stay true to his original vision with the show, except that we have co-hosts and we'll bring our respective perspectives, both from the industry, his side as a manufacturer, and my side as a consumer. So check that out if you're interested in more smart home talk. We will be releasing every other week, and as I mentioned a little bit earlier in this episode, we have episodes out that are specifically about WWDC. We put one out before, and we have one from after the show where we talk about what's going on in HomeKit. Bryant, I'm really glad you were able to join us and talk to us more about Halo Home. I enjoyed talking with you when I was at Light Fair, but if I remember correctly, my time was limited because I had to run to my meter.
You did. You ran into the booth. You're like, good to see you again. We're going to talk soon. And then you're like, I got to go feed the meter. And so we're talking again. It's been a pleasure.
Let people know where they can find out more about Halo Home, if they're interested in finding out more information or if they want to get some of your product.
Yeah. So the best place to find out more information is Eaton, EATON.com/Halo Home. You can find us at the big box retailer, like you said, or other e-commerce, as well as your local contractor will know Halo and they'll be able to get Halo Home as well. And I know we're running specials on social media and Instagram and Facebook and things like that too.
Okay, so that means that Halo Home is out on the social places as well?
Yeah, so through the Eaton Lighting, you could follow us on our Eaton Lighting social, Twitter, Instagram, and you'll see Halo Home there too.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Bryant, thanks again. This has been a great discussion.
No, thanks, Richard.
This show is brought to you by the Digital Media Zone at thedigitalmediazone.com. You can reach us on Twitter at DigiMediaZone. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. And you can reach me on Twitter at Richard Gunther. Of course, we have other shows, Entertainment 2.0 with Josh Pollard and me, and Story Players with Josh and Joe DeStasio. Home On is part of Technology.fm, a curated collection of great tech podcasts, including the Home Tech FM podcast, the Smart Kitchen Show, and once again, the Smart Home Show. Find all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and more. And if you like them, please give us some stars, give us a rating or a review in the marketplace where you listen or download, and tell a friend. That wraps episode 121. I'm Richard Gunther, and I was joined in this episode by Bryant Bilal from Eaton. Join us again in a couple weeks. We'll be back for episode 122.
Home, off, 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 off.